All right, hello, my name is Parker.
And my name is Ned.
And this is The Force Unlimited, yet another Star Wars Unlimited podcast. This is episode number 48. We still have not heard if Baton is getting to design a card as the Galactic's winner. And tonight is December 21st, the final night of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, Ned.
Happy Hanukkah, Parker. How was the oil situation at your house? Still going?
The oil situation at my house is actually mildly terrifying. We actually had a furnace fear today.
Oh, no.
Not related to... We have a natural gas furnace, not related to oil. We live in maybe one of the few houses in Portland. Apparently the previous owners were from Arizona, and they assumed you had to have the water heater run to humidify your house, which is something you do in the Southwest, but not something you do in the Pacific Northwest. No. We have plenty of moisture in our air. So we have like one of the few houses that has a humidifier running into our furnace, and it was leaking. So that was a rough scene.
Yeah.
So, dear listener, I don't know if this comes up much. This is our Hanukkah episode. Ned does not celebrate Hanukkah, and I was, this may shock you, not born into it. But I married into Hanukkah. My children celebrate Hanukkah. My wife celebrates Hanukkah. So I celebrate Hanukkah. And we had two related themes that we wanted to talk about. But first, as always, we will talk about the match we just played. You want to talk about it, Ned?
Yeah. I mean, it was a good one. It was a close one. So you were on Piet Red, and I was playing Anakin Datavolt. It was three pretty close matches. I think that game one, I misplayed some stuff a little bit, but in the end, Parker took it in 3 games. Game one, Parker basically got out Invisible Hand early and took over the game. Game two, I got enough stuff on the ground that I was able to just batter him down before too much of the nonsense in space happened. And then game three was similar to game one in that you had, early resupply into Piet into just, bashing me over the head for 6 and then deploying a unit every turn with Invisible Hand.
Invisible Hand for 5 feels good.
Yeah.
And being able to ramp it in on turn 3 also feels good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't love Piet Red as much as I loved Piet Blue. I miss all my favorite cards, but the droid version that's been circulating, that's been doing really well at the PQs, feels, for a theme that we will come back to tonight, it feels a little unthematic. In that, like, it's one of those things that I don't dislike. That's not a knock on the deck or on the game. It's just one of those natural things that come out of CCGs where there's a mechanic that you've got Gonk Droid, which you really want in Piet to double the ramp, the discount. Right. And then on top of that, you've got the Invisible Hand, which already feels really great if you run enough droids, which Piet is happy to do.
Right.
And then so you get that, you basically make up for the turn where you played your ramp, right? Super Laser Tech or Resupply. That's always a lost turn, but you immediately make that value up by playing the Invisible Hand. You can put out especially with the what's it called, the 3/3 for 2, just the straight.
The green
evil Battlefield Marine
Yep.
droid. Like, you can just get that out immediately. Boom, done. I ran a lot of Confiscate Hate, and I never saw it against you like when I needed it. Mm-hmm. You ran General's Blade. You ran Legal Authority. Yep. It would have been really convenient to have any of my 9 anti-attachment, anti-upgrade cards when you played them. I even just figured it wasn't going to happen. Toss one immediately next turn. You Legal Authority.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun match. Mm-hmm. I do love Anakin. Anakin in green.
I wish it was not green. Like, I know that this is me being like a crusty old hater, but like, Hero Green has always left me incredibly cold. I do not like playing it. It's very good. Like, right now, I think the consensus is that Hero Green is where you want to be. So I am caving to the forces of play good stuff, and like, it's It's a powerful deck. You have a lot of interesting lines. You have a lot of good options. It just it feels very like I just play my good cards and I attack with my good cards. Like where's the wacky synergies?
No, just more. You just draw two good. That's the appeal of Star Wars Unlimited. Ed, is you draw two good cards a turn instead of one good card a turn, and it just makes draw good stuff decks twice as good.
Yeah.
I will say it speaks both decks. Having played a lot of both leaders in the past, I've played but I played Anakin in blue a lot. I played a little Anakin in red, and then I've played a lot of Piet in blue. I admire. It really speaks volumes to the design of leaders within the rules, that you have these same leaders can support multiple archetypes, that you're not just wedged into. I look at like commander lists, which is the closest thing I can think of, but I also look back on a lot of like Netrunner lists from when I was playing.
There was generally like one or two ways to play an identity.
Maybe two.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe two, and to play an identity, but usually it's like, well, you're playing noise, so you're just going to play an obscene number of viruses, and the goal is, here's all the good. You're just going to slam. Half your deck is going to be, third of your deck is going to be good viruses. A third of your deck is going to be other good Anarch stuff, and then
a third of the deck is the mandatory econ that you have to play in every game.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's so much more satisfying to play a game where it's like, oh, new cards came out. I get to revisit leaders, which only makes one of tonight's themes of Hanukkah is resilience. And when we're in the long, dark winter of pre-rotation, under the shadow of Spark, where I hope that we see many more rotations, and I hope this is the worst one, where we are under the shadow of such a dominant set. Speaking of that, so the kind of one of the origins of tonight's theme came about my desire to revisit 2 years ago. I posted on the Hell site a 8 nights D House of the Unplayables had been doing the 12 Nights of Christmas famously, and I responded by doing the 8 Nights of Hanukkah with Han Solo holding a candelabra or a menorah. It was a candelabra, but because it turns out they don't have those with handles very often. And I went through my 8 favorite Star Wars Unlimited cards. This was toward the end of preview. We were about 70% through Spark of Rebellion previews, which is as small. You and I were playing games with printed proxies because there were no real cards, and I thought I wanted to revisit that favorite list and see how those cards have held up. Now that we are in the fullest a set a meta will ever be. We are in a 6-set meta. It will never be this full, except for the 4 months a year when it is this full.
Yep.
But for the Spark cards that are legal now, this is the biggest possible gap. 70% of a set to 6 sets will never see it again, and I wanted to see how they've held up. So given the nature of the morality system, which was kind of novel, I picked one card that I loved, that I was pumped about from each of the hero villain aspect pairs. So that, which mapped nicely to 8 cards. That little symmetry there really appealed to me. So these were done in no particular order because I was new to social media. But the first one was Bosk Deadly Stalker. Ned, how do you feel that card's held up?
It's not seen as much play, but in the decks that like it still is a fringe player. I mean, I ran it in the CAD list that I did pretty well at the Portland PQ at. It wasn't like something that I leaned heavily into, but it is a card. The fact that villainy yellow is not quite as well represented in the meta right now is no knock against it. I think it's still strong and interesting and good.
In fact, I think that's probably one of its greatest downfalls, is that at this point, if you're running villainy yellow, it's because you're doing a very specific thing. And I think Bosk is not a specific thing. He is just an all-around workhorse in a aspect pair that generally doesn't value all-around workhorses. He's Ambush, which is great.
Yep.
He's Underworld, which is great. The reason why I originally loved him, because I'm a true Timmy player. If you play infinite events, you get to do infinite damage.
Right, but that never... yeah.
Token events one day, Ned.
Yes,
but
believe.
you know...
Yeah.
But he just he's like all around kind of good. He can solve a lot of different problems, but he doesn't. He's much more of an answer than he is a question.
Yes.
And I think if you're running Yellow Villainy, it's because you have a very specific question you want to pose to the opponent generally, but especially in this meta.
I would agree with that. You know, it is the kind of card that if I were to approach it kind of naively, I'd assume that it would be a question with that ability to machine gun with events, but that's always been like the extra little sour cream on the latke, as it were, rather than the the main meal.
That's fair. Fun fact, you can put ham on a latke and treat them like hash browns. This is something I brought into the marriage. It is frowned upon in my house, but it's delicious. Our number 2 card, the second night of Hanukkah, was Fighters for Freedom in Hero Red. Ned, how do you feel this card is held up?
I think that it again makes appearances in Sabine decks, and that's basically where it shows up, which is a shame because in the theme of questions, cards that feel like they ought to be questions but aren't. Fighters for Freedom feels like it ought to be something that your opponent needs to deal with, and because of that like stapling the ping, the base damage onto an aspect that's very much about trying to race your opponent down in a lot of cases. But again, it never quite got there in terms of trying to machine gun your opponent down. I've seen some interesting stuff with Cassian, the new Cassian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think here's my prediction.
Yes,
Ned, I think in a post big butt rebalancing, this card should be 3/5.
Yes,
and I think we will see this card at 3/5. I think we will see a Hero Red 3/5 for 3 that does 1 damage when you play red. I think we will see they change the name.
Yep.
Maybe they change the traits, but I think this card just comes back as a 3/5 and is infinitely more valuable because then it is very much a question that, with 3/4, the likelihood that it's, especially now, now with everything being slightly, buffed up, the likelihood that this is going to get more than 1 or 2 points of damage,
low,
not high. But 3/5 suddenly makes you got to spend more work working it down. It plays into a red hero kind of slower control package, mid-range package where, please throw 2 things at it or use some removal on it. But
I mean, like I would have loved
just
Luthien. Kind of a style of aggro deck where you are much more focused on like value trading your opponent and getting that incremental value while you're doing those value trades. I could see a 3/5 version of Fighters for Freedom being.
I think by the end of 2027, I bet set 12. Well, by set 12, it'll exist for us. Card number 3, Devastator. Probably the Timmiest card in Spark of Rebellion. So no shock that it made it on my green villainy list. I was just running a 3 of today. So are you in green villainy and you have a top end? There's a good chance
it's not just any top end. I see a lot of green villainies top end out at like Vader commanding the First Legion or Darth Maul, but if you're going up there to those stratospheric heights, Devastator definitely deserves some consideration.
I think the triple of the Overwhelm, the Sentinel, and the generally deal 10 damage makes it it's still at the 10 cost tier. It's probably one of the best 10 cost cards.
110%.
I think that's a fair statement.
Continues to show up on
number 4, a card that should not be on this list. I'm mildly incensed that it was on this list. Is Count Dooku, and I'm cranky that this isn't Avenger, which is probably still my favorite card in all of Star Wars Unlimited. Also in Blue Villainy, also in Spark of Rebellion. It should have been the list. I was convinced when I saw this list for the first time in like 2 years. I was like, oh, it must not have been previewed yet. No. The first night of Hanukkah in 2023 was on December 7th, And this card was previewed on Avenger was previewed on December 6th, the day before Hanukkah started. This card, Avenger, existed. It's possible that I just applied my Starship Troopers rule and didn't allow something to become my favorite for a certain number of time. A certain amount of time. I wanted to let it sink in. Maybe the Avenger wasn't as great as we all know. It's the best card in Star Wars Unlimited. But Dooku, Count Dooku, Spark of Rebellion, how has that held up, Ned?
It has not held up. Dooku is the card. I remember when it was previewed. I remember running it early on excitedly, but it's really difficult to get the value that you for the 7 resources, right? Like you kill something, but the thing that you kill is generally smaller, and frequently that's good enough. But compared to other villainy top ends other blue top ends that may appear later. It just doesn't quite have the staying power, which is a surprise because the shield you would assume would let it trade more effectively. I think it's the power, the stats on the unit itself not quite being there.
4-3 after the fact is just it's not quite enough. I agree, and it's weird because we now have the new Dooku that has a kind of, I feel like, only costs 4, but fills a much more similar niche of, this kind of like card that removes something and leaves a body on the board. Is its traditional line of play. So it's funny to me that it's been replaced essentially just by Dooku. Again, number 5, the absolute legend card, 5th night of Hanukkah. Again, no order to this. This is numbers because Google Docs gives us a list. Number 5, one of the best cards in Spark of Rebellion, the Jyn Erso Leader. That one has stuck around, Ned.
Yeah, no, it's sure stuck around in my box where I never take it out of.
I wanted to like this card so much. I desperately wanted to. At the time, I was high on it. I'm so sad that nothing became of that leader. I like Jyn Erso. I like that play style for yellow of that kind of value trading. And I mean, plenty has been discussed about why she just wasn't quite enough. Let's see. Number 6, the Palp, the red unit Palp, the deal 6 damage and overwhelm Palp. Has this card stuck around, Ned?
Fringe. I think the problem is that Villainy Red typically doesn't go to 8 resources, but whenever I've been in a Villainy Red deck that goes to 8 resources, Grand Inquisitor, occasionally, you definitely play this card. I think that at the 8 resource spot in Villainy, in like a Villainy Red deck, there's nothing better. There are some things that you could fight for. I think that Ruthless Raider has shown more resilience and does a similar kind of a thing, but that's mostly just because it costs 6.
No. I mean, I think the overwhelm on that unit is slightly overpowered. I mean, the built-in kind of OB is, but man, this one did not stick around the way I thought it would. And I mean, to be fair, early Spark, this was a backbreaker. I mean, even for quite a while afterwards, it's just that Villainy Red you tend not to be going up to 8 resources in Villainy Red, or if you are, you're playing something else. Then we're going to get down to the last 2. Bright Hope.
I think Bright Hope still sees an appearance. Bright Hope continues to be a nuisance. Whenever you're playing Hero Green and you want to shut down the space lane, you pull out Bright Hope. Even if you don't, like, honestly, Hero Green...
Yeah, the number of times I run Bright Hope without even a plan to bounce anything. Where it's like, no, sometimes you play it with the shenanigans to bounce, but plenty of times it's just like, like 2/6 Sentinel for 4.
Fine.
Love it.
Yep.
I do love slapping Figure of Unity on it. Continues to be a thing that makes me happy, brings me joy. And number 8, our last card of the night for this segment, a card that arguably has too much staying power, that has hung around a little too long. Luke Skywalker, like Unit Luke from Spark.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, continues to basically define the top end. It's like Luke and Kelleran Beck now. And
And but good on Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Right? Like to get one of those defining cards. But Luke hung out, Kelleran's what? We're in set 2 of Kelleran.
Yeah.
Like Kelleran's got to stick around for another year. Luke stuck around for 6 sets.
Yes.
If you bought Luke when he was cheap in early days of Spark or Rebellion, congratulations. That is probably some of the best CCG money you've spent in Star Wars Unlimited. Those singles, if you opened it, that luck has paid dividends time and again. I feel like for the first year, he was a reason to run blue, yellow, just almost by himself.
Yeah.
Or blue hero, not blue, yellow. Like
no, 110%. Like, it is doing the ravenous chupacabra thing that Dooku is trying to do, of showing up, killing a unit, and then leaving behind a body. The difference is that, like, Luke can generally kill what it intends to, because of the -6.
-6 is more than -4.
Remarkably enough,
6/6 is better. 6/6 is better than a 4, or 6/7 is a better.
6/7. 6/7. Yeah.
Is better than a 4/3 with shield.
Yeah.
By a margin.
Considerable margin.
And Restore 3
that's not
has
trinket
broken
text.
games.
Yeah.
You get that off twice. That's huge.
Yeah.
So, I, as somebody who's not good at Star Wars Unlimited or at CCGs in general, I feel like 6 out of 8
that ain't bad.
were pretty good calls. Ain't bad. I'm pretty happy with this. Jyn Erso was a rough, outlier, but even everyone other, just has slowly aged out. They were as good as I thought they would be when Spark dropped, and they've just been surpassed.
To make a tiny note about Jyn Erso before we move on to the next segment, I think that Jyn Erso is kind of emblematic of, especially in Spark, Hero Yellow kind of didn't have an identity. Like, there were a bunch of
Agreed.
interesting effects, but there wasn't a mechanical identity. It wasn't clear what it was trying to do in the same way that a lot of the other morality aspect pairings were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Hero Yellow's starting, I think, to have a more clear identity, and I think some of that is just Yellow is kind of... I think Yellow lacks a bit of identity. I think you see that Yellow Villain kind of lacked a lot of identity. It was just defined by Boba being good. Then Cad Bane kind of forcing this underworld identity, but underworld was a trait that exists highly in Yellow, so it made Boba, Boba was in Yellow, and so, but like that's an identity of Boba. Mm-hmm. That's not an identity of, or not Boba, sorry, of Cad Bane. That's not an identity of
the aspect. The aspect.
Yellow.
Yeah.
So before we jump into our next segment, dear listener, we are coming up on a Lawless Time preview season, and Ned and I will be showing off a card, and when we do, I want to make sure you are, as a dear listener, that you are listening to our preview. And I can't stress that enough. Make sure when the time comes and we drop our preview, wherever you listen to it, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, as a dear listener, make sure you are listening to our preview. And now for segment 2, I want to talk about revisiting bases. This segment came about, I was watching my favorite Hanukkah movie when I had this idea. Ned, what is my favorite Hanukkah movie?
Die Hard?
Yes, Die Hard. Do you know why? Yeah, wow. I'm so glad you got that, Ned.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go on the internet and say that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. One, don't. That joke is really tired. It's up there with like Napoleon Dynamite and the more popular half of Monty Python. Like, don't make the joke. Two, it's wrong. So it just, not only is it a like tired joke, but it's also wrong. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It is a movie about a person using a dwindling supply of resources to defend a tower against foreign invaders. That is the story of Hanukkah.
That's Hanukkah.
That's
baby.
Hanukkah.
Yeah.
So So I wanted to talk about, and I was thinking about, Suzui, how this relates to Star Wars Unlimited, which is you are defending a base, you are defending a tower, and not as unique a theme in video games and card games as and nerd games. There's a lot of defending bases and towers.
But I started. There's a whole genre of games about defending towers.
Yeah, right. But I started thinking about also revisiting. So early on, one of our early episodes, please don't go back and listen to it. Not that most people go back and listen to old podcasts, but certainly don't
Get
listen
in the
to
comments, go back and listen to the early episodes and drop a comment that you listened, that you're a real head.
Oh, no. Our audio was so bad. But we talked about the fact that I was not entirely thrilled about not having lands, like not the magic resource system, but I always love having cards that are hard to interact with, like the fact that all of the static effects in Star Wars Unlimited can be attacked, right? All of the static cards are just units, and if you want to, everything has built-in removal because everything can just be attacked.
Yep.
Nothing exists in some other dimension or plane, but I like to turtle all the time. And so we had an episode where, but I like playing games with just lots of, when I played Magic, I played elf decks. When I played with a dozen enchantments. When I played Netrunner, I played Shaper, where I would sit there and build up an infinite economy, and just whatever the corp wanted to do, that was great. And then I would just try to do one run, one turn where I just run all three bases because I'm a billionaire, and I'm just like, and like, I love building. And one thing Star Wars Unlimited kind of lacks is building. And I wanted to revisit that topic. That was something that we talked about when Spark was in preview season. And as we are coming up on preview season for set 7, A Lawless Time, I wanted to kind of see how I felt about that. I'm asking myself how I feel about that, but I wanted to pick your brain because I'm going to go on the record and say that I love Star Wars Unlimited, and I think mechanically bases are fantastic.
Yes.
I think they are a thematic failure of the game. I'm going to start by positing that. And do you agree or disagree?
So I guess let's unpack what you mean by a thematic failure. Do you feel that they are a thematic failure because they are not doing what they're supposed to, like the actions that you were
What base was I playing when we played today, Ned? What base was I running?
Red.
Right? Exactly. And so I think you run into part of this. I think is a problem. Will traits on bases ever be relevant?
Probably.
Maybe. Sure. Why not? But in Magic, they just keep reprinting the same basic land. So you get a forest, and it's always a forest, and they just paint it to look like the plane that they're on or whatever. Whereas here, we're creating new Star Wars places. It's just a new 30 HP base, and nobody cares. But I was just thinking about, we've played 2 games recently, you and I, that where we kind of talked about the nature of bases.
Right.
We talked about Riftbound 2 episodes ago.
Yes.
Which has you fighting over lands.
Yes.
This felt like a place where you're going to do.
You are traveling to that place. That place has a feature that is distinct about that particular place, and so there's the conflict happening there. Right, whereas with
and so that felt, you feel like you're in this place. This place in Demacia is all about little guys being big, and this land is about little guys being big. It feels like a thing. Yeah. And I want to circle back to the concept of bases, as put a pin in that, because I do think there are some successes. But the second game we talked about that I want to reference is we recently played The Old King's Crown. And for those, that's a board game, dear listener. If you haven't been paying attention to the zeitgeist of everybody wishing they owned a copy, I am one of those people. Ned is not. Ned, you own a copy. You don't wish, Ned.
Yeah.
You were wise enough to back it on Kickstarter.
I was trying to understand exactly.
There's no wishing. You have fulfilled that dream. And we played the game, and I loved there's a tableau system in the game. You buy places that exist in this kingdom, and they often are representing places that are yours. You can defend. They do stuff. And the nature of the game. These are big tarot-sized cards. These are mechanically beastie cards in a way that a lot of CCGs can't afford to be. But you felt like, our third player felt like the tableau churned a little too fast.
Yes.
Because you can only have 2 of the normal cards and so forth without doing a Old King's Crown review. I loved it. Even though there was churn, there was these cards that, like, they made part of who you were, and they felt like I was describing things that we were doing in a board game with story, right? Like, I was, like, I was getting angry that certain things were happening, not because of it mechanically, but I was like, I was playing the heir, and somebody kept stealing my dad's crown, and, like, this story just kind of evolved out of this. And so to circle back to my pin, I feel like bases in Star Wars Unlimited, there are very thematic ones. You were playing Data Vault, right? Which is a very thematic interpretation of that card. You get more health because you're Vault. You have stuff. You have more knowledge, so your library is bigger. There's a lot of stuff
that's built up, and because there's all this stuff that's built up, there's also more clutter, and so the deck size is larger. There's more stuff going on. Yeah.
Right. And so there are absolutely thematic bases in Star Wars Unlimited. Within the constraints of the mechanic, the designers, I think, have done a pretty solid job. Some of them are easy layups, right? The 8 force, all the force bases, they're mostly just force places.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of the, like, rare force bases feel more or less like you. I feel like you could just swap those around with the common force bases. There are places in Star Wars that are attuned to the force, and they do the color thing that they do.
Temple of Destruction,
is red.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason why I think they're a thematic failure is because if you changed, so we played Riftbound, and we were talking about the split, how Riftbound splits the unit side from the non-unit
in
side
leaders,
of the leader.
Yeah.
This is just essentially a third axis. It's a third part of your identity. And if we swap them out for, like, personality.
Yes.
Right? So if instead of Energy Conversion Lab, the card was just called Hasty.
Yeah.
So you're playing, hasty Anakin Skywalker as opposed to, cautious Anakin Skywalker as opposed to whatever. If there's just, say, personalities.
Yeah.
You're still, I don't feel like the game would fundamentally feel any different. It's still you and me smashing our dudes together, trying to lower the hit points, and you're playing the version of Anakin Skywalker that is hasty.
Yeah. I would say the only thing that would kind of make it a little weird is where the damage is going, right? With the bases, you have this sense that, it makes sense that, like, your ground forces are attacking, this is Hoth, your ground forces are attacking Hoth, but your space forces are also bombarding Hoth, and so,
sure,
totally makes sense.
Sure.
But
it's not, but it's not 100%, but the notion of, like, there's this card where damage goes.
Yes.
But I don't feel like, and any time I've played Star Wars Unlimited, I feel like I've had incredibly I love the fact that you're playing multi units of the same character, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Them at different points of time, and if there's multiple of them on the board, it just means they're very present. They're the star of the show. The music, John Williams' music is
for a particular implementation of this that I love is back during the Decipher Lord of the Rings game, you could have, like, Gollum fight Smeagol, and the way that they explained that was, it's him wrestling with himself, with his own, like, internal conflict, and I think that in Star Wars that's totally valid and relevant and makes a huge amount of sense.
Sure. So I'm fine with like, I feel like they've done such a great job with theme for units, and there's been lots of great thematic events, and, like, a number of grinders may complain as certain cards are just kind of unplayable, and I'm okay with that because oftentimes, like, a lot of these, sometimes they just do jokes that are like 1 in a million, where it's like, well, it's not meant as much to be playable as much as to create a thematic feel to the game. I love the theme in this game, but I don't think a single time I've ever felt like this battle was taking place
at a place.
at either of the locations.
Nope, it does not. It does not feel that way.
And
Yeah.
and that pains me. And so, because like I think I know everybody loves to talk about Destiny, but I actually have a soft spot for the previous, and everybody obviously has a soft spot for Decipher, whatever. There was a game in the middle made by Fantasy Flight as well, the Star Wars LCG, that I am incredibly fond of. And that game, you had objectives that you were trying to deal with, kind of similar, you basically had to defeat 3 of your opponent's bases.
Right.
And so these were your resource generation and your opponent's targets and your hit points and your special abilities all rolled into one. And they weren't one-to-one with locations, but they were mostly locations. They were kind of like the objective. And I felt like that was incredibly thematic. I felt like the battles were often taking place like in that cave in Hoth, or like on this Imperial Star Destroyer, in these dockyards. And I just don't feel it. We're 2 years in now.
No.
I love this game more than I ever have. I think the game has become... I'm really excited about rotation, because I think as much as I'm excited about the drop in power level losing Spark, I'm also just excited to watch as the rest. I think everything else will get a little more robust. There's a lot more, we can all see, to borrow your topography analogy, Ned, we can all see the high point. The high point is Spark. And new sets come out, and it's varied, and there's lots of cool hills that are about the same as other hills that we have gotten recently, but they're lower than Spark.
Yes.
So there's no use exploring them, and I can't wait to go explore them. I'm very high, but 2 years in, I stand by my belief that I feel like the way bases were implemented thematically was a bit of a miss. Nothing to do about that.
Nope.
From a standpoint of like, I don't think you can make bases feel more thematic. But I want you to put on your game designer head, Ned.
So here would be the kind of like things that you could do. You could have obviously bases are traded, so you could have things that key off of those traits, where it's like if you are on, it's like Snowstorm. If you're on Hoth, then do damage to all ground units. If you're on Hoth, do more damage to all ground units. Right? That would make the bases more thematic. But I think the lands analogy that you have to Magic holds up a lot, is that there's a lot of the lands in Magic that are intensely non-thematic, to the point of like it's just a forest paint over. Or a piece of pizza, apparently, that could be a forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
But the parts of the land system where you are making choices about those specific lands that you're including beyond just like how many basics of which color, you do get you get some more interesting decision making, and it does make the game feel a little bit different. But you don't see that in most sets, because most of the time people are playing with for most sets in Standard, people are mostly playing with basics, and then they're just filling out with whatever non-basics they need to make their mana base work. It's only in the like very rarefied formats that you see a lot more deliberate choice going into exactly which non-basics I'm going to include. And to go back to Star Wars, I think that when you can have that kind of trade-all thing as one way to do it. But another way to do it is you just have more meaningful choice about the base that you're going to run. And I think sometimes you do. I think that the choice, I was reading, I think Wu was talking about the difference between like Data Vault versus the Force base in Yoda, right? And that being like an interesting decision that was being made. And so the more that you think about a piece, the more you tend to imbue theme.
But no.
It.
I'm going to push back on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to push back on that, because I think mechanically the way they've done bases has been rock solid, and with and I'm very pro, because even some of the ones that you kind of dismiss out of hand, you end up coming back to the Twilight bases that nobody necessarily wanted to run.
Yep.
But they did, Rex runs them, right? Like, because those are more free tokens. And
Yep.
I think the fact that you just said it, right? It's Data Vault versus the four spaces.
Yes.
Like, the fact that, like, even having played as much Star Wars Unlimited as we can, like, you can't necessarily pull forth.
Crystal Caves is the only one I remember as like
Right.
a yellow four space.
And
but yeah.
I don't know that, like, making them have more mechanically interesting choices gives the game a greater sense of the fact that a battle is taking place here.
Right.
Right. And I think, I want to kind of split that in half, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think, honestly, and who knows, Homeworld, the way it's named, right? The fact that we do have traits on bases, it's possible that set cares. I think it's much more likely that set actually just cares about all of the species traits, that we're just going to get a lot of Mandalorian, Wookiee, Twi'lek. I think we're just going to get more of that than we are going to get Hoth. But whatever, that's speculation. Who knows? I think, but so let's separate. There's the bases as the mechanic.
Yes.
That ship, I think, has sailed. But there's still room to, if the question becomes, given the Star Wars Unlimited rules as they exist now, and you get to add any new rules you want within the realm of reason, Ned, how does one give the Star Wars Unlimited that we are playing now? So not, they should have, they could have, but you can add new card types, whatever.
Right.
How do we give SWU a true sense of place? Like, how do we make battles feel like they're taking place on Hoth?
I think that the way that you would have to do, I can, with the rules that we have. So if we're not introducing a new card type, then
you can I'm saying introduce a new card type. I'm saying you can't change the past.
Okay.
Right.
So I think that
set 10 is yours to design as you will, and the mandate is give SWU a greater sense of place. Make it so that when you feel like you're on Tatooine, you are on Tatooine.
Okay, here is what I would do. I would have, if this was my missive, and I'm not worried about, like, other stuff going on, I would create a new card type. This card type would be like a location. And this location would have an enchantment style effect, and it would have a health, and it may have an active ability as well, and we can talk about what the active ability is. But it has hit points, so it can be attacked, because that's one of the main things that they're really solid about in this game, is that you want to make sure that things can be interacted with by the rules as written without requiring an additional piece of interaction to do the thing. So you would have these locations. These locations would do things, and you would probably need to have them key off of, like, the base traits. So you would...
So you can only play locations that share traits with the base or something.
Yeah, or, so
that you're not running
like
the data vault on this planet plus the supply closet on the Death Star plus.
Yeah, you give it like a kicker, right? Like, if you don't want to be as prescriptive about that, you
limited first,
right? You give them some kind of a kicker where it's like, okay, this is like the Death Star docking bay, and the thing that it can do is it can let you, while this is active, your ground units can attack space units, because it's like pulling them in with the tractor beam, right?
Right.
And maybe it has like, the way you cost it is that you make it kind of crummy but playable outside of like a Death Star base, but you have it be meaningful on a Death Star base. That's kind of like option one. Option two, and I don't think that they would do this because I think that this would be a nightmare to balance, is that you have bases that have a passive mechanical effect that is not just extra health. And that's or like a thing that's not just like a once per game epic action. I think this would be so that you're being mentally reminded of like.
I don't think that would be a nightmare. I think that's only a nightmare to balance because how they've balanced them currently, right? Like they've balanced the whole game around 30 HP, and they've established that the swing in HP is what 8, 25, no 34. You can get 34 with Lake Country.
Yes.
So 9-point swing from 25 at the low end to
and I mean,
34.
nine's like
And
a
so,
third
like,
of your base health, of like the base health, but
right, and the best things you can get for that are like give a unit ambush once.
Yeah.
So the idea that like all your units just permanently have +0/+1, or like all your droids have +0/+1.
right, like we're fighting in the
doesn't fit within
scrapyard,
that.
so I get to cycle cards back on some like cadence or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything inherently unbalanceable about that. I just think you have to do that earlier.
Yeah.
right?
No,
Because
I don't-
otherwise
I
it's
don't
like,
think
well,
that's doable.
all your units get overwhelmed. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, and you get 12 hit points, right? Like, it's just
that's
you
just
can't-
not workable, right? Like
Right, yeah.
either the benefit is so good that it doesn't matter that you only have 12 hit points, or the cost is way too high.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas if like they started from the standpoint of, all units get plus, all your droids get +1/+0 for 28 hit points.
Right.
If that was like the bar they had set of what things are worth, then there's okay.
There's room to maneuver, but I agree. I don't think there's room to maneuver on like giving the basis ability. So I think locations are the way that you would do that.
So locations, I presume, can't attack in your hypothetical.
In the hypothetical, locations probably would not be able to
Because
attack
otherwise, what's the difference between a location
in a unit, right? You
and
would
another
have the
unit?
location not be able to attack. Generally speaking, you might have like some weird location where it can attack. So like the Death Star is a location that like deals damage to your opponent's base or whatever, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I had gone similarly of just locations, not even with hit points that could be attacked.
Yeah.
They were just, but I like that because then you can do things like raid that only works on locations. Because otherwise, if they don't have very many hit points, they're easy to attack. But like the idea that they might have like 8 hit points, but then you have keywords
And you
that
could
just
even
do
give them
more
power,
damage.
right? Like you could even
Right.
give them power so that attackers take damage when they do.
They just can't attack. Yeah. And you can do all kinds of things
Yeah.
like raid that only works against locations and so forth.
Yeah.
I just like, and I mean, I don't want to bog dear listener down with us just making up a new game, but that's similarly. I just wish there was. Again, this goes back to probably just my desire for a tableau, but I'm actually pretty happy with Star Wars Unlimited not having a tableau. It actually, the game feels fine. It feels there's a lot of nice churn. The tableau would make it take too long. The game takes long enough in a modern world as it is.
Yep.
But I just would love to once play a game that feels like it's on Hoth, right?
Yeah.
Like especially with like you have Fantasy Flight, like getting people pumped about the new reskin of the Hoth battle board game that they've got.
Intro
Like,
Battle, no, not Intro Battle Hoth. God, what is the name of it? It's a Command and Colors game, but it's on Hoth. Yeah.
But it's Hoth, right?
Yeah.
Like, and again, also great point.
Yeah.
Intro battle Hoth. That felt like a battle on Hoth, but that wasn't the basis. That was literally the whole deck.
That's
That was because everything
the
on the
card
deck
pool
was
was just so limited that like everything was Hoth, right?
Right, and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so that felt like a battle on Hoth. And that's actually, I stand corrected. That was a game of Star Wars Unlimited that felt like it was taking place
On a place.
in the place that
yeah.
that it was taking place in, and that I just want more of that, and to kind of just tie it back because that's very much whether it be oil and a temple, or whether it be your home. Hanukkah is about a sense of place, and that is something that I find incredibly lacking in Star Wars Unlimited, as much as I love the game. So that's my wish. Not that we're coming up on New Year's, dear listener. I can't promise. Ned and I have done New Year's Eve the last 2 years. I can't promise we'll do it this year. We shall see. We'll let you know on the 1st. But my wish for 2026 in Star Wars Unlimited, I actually love all of it. I'm excited about rotation. I'm excited about all 3 sets they've announced. I feel like I'm playing with Star Wars characters, but I don't feel like I'm playing in the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
And that's my wish.
Your Hanukkah wish?
That's my yeah, right? Am I can you tell that I did not grow up with this? Okay. Dear listener, I think that's all we've got for tonight. We're clocking in at 50 minutes, which feels just fine.
Beautiful.
Again, tonight is December 21st, last night of Hanukkah. If you have any thoughts about the episode, please feel free to email us or jump in the comments. Ned, do you have any final thoughts about the episode?
I do, and that is, I'm slightly disappointed that you didn't find the way to work that masterpiece of modern songwriting, Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song, into this particular show.
If I had grown up with that song, I probably would have. But again, I came to Hanukkah very late in life, so I'm not as steeped in those traditions. Dear listener, we will see you in 2026. Have a very happy holidays.
Adios.